Happy Mental Illness Awareness Week. For Mental Illness Awareness Week, I would like to make a brief presentation on the importance of self-love in mental health. And I will say briefly what is self-love and how you can practice self-love both in the personal life and in your work life, professional, and also I will give 2 examples from my life because I think this could be useful and examples always help other people. And so to start first with what is self-love? Self-love has different meanings probably to different people. But I think that this means that you value yourself as a unique human being and you extend to yourself the same love and compassion that you would like to extend or that you extend to other people. And this means that you don't criticize yourself if you make a mistake, but you try to learn from it, and that you value your uniqueness and accept your limitations, and know that just like you love yourself, other people love themselves, and to stand up for yourself. And to give some examples how you can practice self-love is that if you feel like saying no, sometimes when you feel overwhelmed, maybe your friend asks to help out with children or to even go out, you can explain and say no without being afraid that you will hurt someone's feelings. Of course, this is difficult and you have to judge for yourself. Or this may mean that if you feel overwhelmed at work, you can ask for help. Or this means you can ask for a day off. Or if you really want to have a piece of cake, you can have a piece of cake without being afraid that you might put on a few extra calories. Or this means that if you are in a relationship that is not going anywhere, either personal or professional, and it's not for your best interest, to leave the relationship. What does this mean also is to adapt healthy behaviors, to eat well, to exercise, and to stay away from substances of abuse that will harm your body, to own your emotions and to honor them, and to honor your feelings, just like you honor the feelings of other people. And this also applies to art. Art is not something frivolous, but to find time to create art, to find time and space even if you are busy, to listen to your feelings, to your soul, to create something beautiful depending on what you like, or to go to a museum to appreciate the art created by others. And honoring yourself, being compassionate towards yourself will make you less stressed, a kinder person, and accept that others also honor themselves, and you will have better relationships, and you will not be stressed, and this will prevent mental illness. This will prevent anxiety, depression, anger, because you will not be overwhelmed by trying to do everything, by criticizing yourself if you don't live up to standards that other people may place or you may place upon yourself. So, this is in brief why I think that self-love is important for mental health, and I looked up some quotes on self-love. There are many hundreds of quotes, and I wanted to read a very nice quote, in my opinion, by Mary Dunbar. And the quote is that we are each gifted in a unique and important way. It is our privilege and our adventure to discover our own special light. So this is what self-love means. And just to say briefly, why would I talk about self-love and mental health? I think everyone can talk even if they don't have the necessary education, because if you experience it yourself, everyone's opinion is very valuable. But I am a medical doctor, also I'm trained in psychiatry, and I have experience from personal life and read books and what my mom has taught me. And also I love to practice art. I love dancing ballet. This is my most favorite activity. Also painting, which allows expression of emotions in a different way. And I love to sing whenever I get time, and I love to explore museums and go to opera with my sweetheart Lloyd and go to ballet. And so this is why I think I have the necessary experience to comment on this. And now to provide 2 examples how self-love is important. One is in personal aspect from my mom and my grandmother. In my family there is mental illness, just like in most families there is, showing how common it is and how important it is to raise awareness. My grandmother, my mom's mom, had depression. She developed it, I think, in her late 60s after she retired. And her depression was very serious, and it could not be treated with medications or with ECT, electroconvulsive therapy, and because of the medications she developed a movement disorder, and ultimately she had Parkinson's disease. And this put a lot of stress and strain, especially on my mom, who was taking care of her. And it was quite difficult also, of course, for my grandmother. My grandmother was a wonderful woman, very kind and loving, and she helped my mom and my dad raise us. She was married very young to my grandfather, who was Greek. They met as young people. My mom was born, and my grandfather went to study medicine in Austria. And my grandmother was an elementary school teacher. She was saving, sending him money because he's a student, waiting for him to come to have a beautiful family. But it happened that when he came back, he was no longer in love with her. He had another woman in his life, and he got divorced and got married to this other woman. So my grandmother was very disappointed. I think it was a story like Madame Butterfly, and she moved on. But my grandfather got divorced, and he started again making plans to get together with my grandmother as a family, and just as she was hoping, he again met another woman and again married her. And so, I think after 2 times, my grandmother could have understood that perhaps my grandfather has difficulty saying what's in his heart. But she still loved him a lot, never had another relationship. And my grandfather was married about 5 times, and every time he told her he would like to get back with her, but then he married someone else. And so this must have been stressful, as my mom told me. I know this from my mom. And my grandmother was by herself helping my parents raise us. We gave her purpose, but when we grew up and she retired, she felt useless, and so she fell into depression. And when she fell into depression, she used to make very beautiful knitted things. For example, this crochet blouse is made by my grandmother. She was in depression, nothing could help her, and so she attempted to take her life. And she was not successful, but her right hand with which she makes these beautiful knitted clothes had to be amputated, and she had Parkinson's, and so it was quite sad story. And so my mom learned from my grandmother that if a man is not showing enough love that you want, you just have to leave and not hope. And so when my mom was married, again she had a daughter, and my sister was 3 months old. My mom saw her ex-husband kissing someone else, another woman, and my mom left immediately. Her ex-husband wanted her to stay, but knowing what happened to her mom, then she met my dad, and they have been together happy their whole life. Whereas her first husband, it is really amazing coincidence, he was married 5 or 6 times. And apparently you can't do anything to change another person. Now, to give an example of self-love from my professional life. Once I was preparing to give a talk for a conference, and I was rehearsing. It was a Sunday with my professor, another professor, and another colleague. It was work that I had worked on 1 year, and I was very enthusiastic. It was a huge meeting, Society for Neuroscience in San Diego. However, my boss was angry that I have a soft voice, and he started yelling at me. No, people from my lab can't have such soft voices. and he didn't let me present my work. But I told him there will be a microphone. And I didn't defend myself enough to say that I have put a lot of effort into this work, and so my work was not acknowledged and I couldn't present it, and subsequently it wasn't published. And this taught me that I have to stand up for myself. And next time one of my bosses yelled at me, I went to his boss, the director of the institute, and I told him that I get upset when people yell at me. I cannot think, I get stressed. And the director of the institute told me, well, you yell at him. Well, how can I yell at him? My parents have told me that a lady doesn't yell. Well, I didn't work there, but then the next job that I found was in a very wonderful place where people respected me. So when I showed self-love and stood up for myself, the universe brought me to a place where my employer respected me and work was very successful, and I published a paper. And so this is my presentation of self-love, that when you don't stand up for yourself, these feelings of hurt and anxiety and disappointment ultimately damage your mental health. And when you stand up for yourself in a compassionate way for everyone, you are more likely to prevent mental illness and live a more happy and fulfilled life. Thank you so much. I wish you a wonderful Mental Illness Awareness